Did you believe that drinking water makes you thirsty? Sounds insane, right? But that's exactly what's happening with your brain and pleasure right now. Every time you get that dopamine hit from your phone, from food, from shopping, you think it's satisfying you. But here's the twisted reality. It's actually making you more hungry for it. Your brain is literally wired backwards. The things you think bring you joy, they're secretly making you miserable. The things you avoid because they seem hard, those are where real satisfaction lives. And here's what's really scary. Most people will live their entire lives without figuring this out. They'll keep chasing the same highs, wondering why they never feel truly happy, mistaking stimulation for satisfaction, distraction for peace. But Carl Jung saw through this illusion 100 years ago. He discovered the dark secret that pleasure companies don't want you to know. He found out why we're all trapped in this backward cycle, and what he discovered will completely flip your understanding of what makes humans truly happy. By the end of this video, you'll see pleasure the way billionaires see money, as a tool, not a master. If you're ready to stop living backwards, keep watching, because what comes next will change everything you think you know about joy. Here's what nobody talks about, and it's going to blow your mind. You live in the most entertained generation in human history, yet you're also the most depressed. How is that even possible? You have Netflix with 15,000 titles at your fingertips. TikTok serves you infinite content tailored exactly to your brain. You can order any food and have it delivered in 30 minutes. Yet anxiety and depression rates have tripled in the last decade. Something is catastrophically wrong with this picture. But here's where it gets really twisted. Carl Jung predicted this exact nightmare 100 years ago, before smartphones even existed. He said that when humans get everything they want instantly, they don't become happier. They become psychologically sick. Jung called it the curse of convenience. When life becomes too easy, the human spirit starts dying. He was describing your life right now, a century before anyone could imagine it. Your great-grandparents had less entertainment in their entire lifetime than you consume in a single weekend. No smartphones, no social media, no streaming services, no instant anything. But here's the reality check that will shake you. Studies show they were significantly happier than you are. They found deep joy in simple conversations, in working with their hands, in waiting for things they wanted. What happened to us? Jung would say, we traded our souls for convenience. Here's the brutal truth that will make you uncomfortable. And Jung saw this coming too. Your brain produces the exact same chemicals when you get a text message as when a cocaine addict gets their next hit. The same neural pathways light up. The same tolerance builds. The same withdrawal happens when it's taken away. Scientists took brain scans of heavy social media users and compared them to cocaine addicts. They literally couldn't tell the difference. Jung called this possession by artificial spirits. When man-made things control your mind more than your own consciousness. But here's where Jung gets really dark, and this will change how you see everything. He said modern civilization would create what he called psychological inflation. People would mistake stimulation for satisfaction, distraction for peace, entertainment for meaning. Every notification, every scroll, every like is engineered to keep you in this inflated state, never allowing you to touch the ground of real experience. Jung warned that entire generations would live their lives in this psychological bubble, thinking they're happy while slowly suffocating their own spirits. What if I told you the real enemy isn't what you think? It's not your lack of willpower. It's not your weak character. The real villain is hiding in plain sight, and when you see it, you'll never trust your own desires again. Ready for this? The villain is your own brain working against you. Here's the mind-bending part. Your brain thinks it's 50,000 years ago. It's still programmed for a world where sugar was rare, where entertainment didn't exist, where every calorie mattered for survival. But now, you're surrounded by infinite sugar, infinite entertainment, infinite stimulation. Your ancient brain is like a caveman, loose in a candy store. It doesn't know when to stop, because stopping used to mean death. But here's where it gets really twisted. Smart people figured this out and turned it into a business model. Every app on your phone is designed by teams who study addiction for a living. They hire the same psychologists who help people quit smoking to make you more addicted to scrolling. Think about how insane that is. The cure for addiction is being used to create more addiction. Want your reality completely shattered? Instagram's original designer admitted he doesn't let his own family use the app. The guy who created the like button says it was designed to make you crave validation, like a drug. Netflix's former vice president revealed they consider sleep their biggest competitor, not other streaming services, but your need to rest. These people are literally stealing your sleep, your focus, your relationships, and calling it progress. The most evil part? They've convinced you that this is normal, that checking your phone 150 times a day is just modern life, that feeling anxious without your device is perfectly reasonable, that needing constant stimulation to feel okay is just how young people are. They've made addiction look like lifestyle choice, and you bought it completely. Here's what this is actually doing to your body, and it's way worse than you think. Your dopamine receptors are physically shrinking. Imagine your brain's pleasure center as a muscle that's being worked to death. It's literally getting smaller and weaker every day you scroll. Scientists took brain scans of heavy social media users and compared them to cocaine addicts. They couldn't tell the difference. Your brain on Instagram looks identical to a brain on drugs. Carl Jung warned us about this exact scenario 100 years ago. He called it possession by the unconscious, when you stop making conscious choices and start being controlled by invisible forces. Jung said modern people would become slaves to their impulses, driven by desires they don't understand, chasing pleasures that only make them emptier. He was describing your life right now, a century before smartphones existed. But the physical damage is just the beginning. You can't focus for more than 8 seconds anymore. That's shorter than a goldfish. Your attention span has been chopped into tiny pieces and fed to algorithms. Jung called this psychological fragmentation, when your mind becomes scattered, unable to hold deep thoughts or sustained focus. You used to be able to read entire books, have deep conversations, work on projects for hours. Now you check your phone every 12 minutes and call it multitasking. Here's where Jung gets really dark. He said that when people lose touch with their authentic selves, they become possessed by what he called complexes, autonomous parts of the psyche that take over. Your phone addiction isn't you making a choice. It's a complex that has possessed you. The part of you that compulsively scrolls isn't even you anymore. It's a foreign psychological entity living in your mind, controlling your behavior. Your relationships are dying too, and Jung predicted this perfectly. He said that when people become disconnected from their inner life, they lose the ability to connect authentically with others. When was the last time you had a conversation without checking your phone? When did you last make eye contact during dinner? You're becoming what Jung called psychologically absent, physically present, but spiritually vacant. Here's the most terrifying consequence Jung identified. You're losing your soul. In Jung's terms, you're becoming unconscious, living like a zombie, responding to triggers instead of making real choices. You've forgotten who you are without constant input. You're afraid of silence, afraid of solitude, afraid of your own thoughts. Jung called this spiritual death while physically alive, and millions of people are walking around in this state right now. But here's where Jung blows your mind completely. He discovered that every human being has two types of pleasure. The first type is what he called cheap pleasure, instant gratification that feels good in the moment but leaves you empty. The second type is what he called eudaimonic pleasure, the deep satisfaction that comes from meaning, growth, and becoming who you're meant to be. Here's the reality-shattering part. These two types of pleasure are enemies. Every time you choose cheap pleasure, you destroy your ability to experience real pleasure. It's like eating candy before a meal. The artificial sweetness kills your appetite for real nutrition. Jung said, most people spend their entire lives gorging on psychological candy while starving for real nourishment. Jung discovered something that will change how you see everything. He found that the human psyche is designed for struggle, not suffering. Struggle. The difference is crucial. Suffering is meaningless pain. Struggle is meaningful resistance that makes you stronger. Your brain literally cannot produce lasting happiness without overcoming challenges. When you remove all friction from your life, when everything becomes ease and instant, your capacity for joy dies. This is why your great-grandparents were happier despite having less. They had to work for everything: their food, their entertainment, their relationships. That work wasn't just physical labor. It was psychological exercise that kept their minds strong. You've been living in a psychological wheelchair, wondering why you feel weak. Jung called this voluntary psychological paralysis. But Jung discovered the most mind-bending truth of all. The path to real pleasure runs directly through what you're trying to avoid. Boredom contains creativity. Discomfort contains growth. Solitude contains self-knowledge. The very experiences you're running from with your phone are the experiences that would heal you. You've been running away from the medicine while swallowing the poison. Ancient wisdom traditions knew this secret. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort to strengthen their minds. Buddhist monks embrace boredom to find inner peace. Even Jesus went into the desert for 40 days of solitude and fasting. These weren't punishments. They were training exercises for the soul. Jung realized that every spiritual tradition understood what modern science is just rediscovering. Real pleasure requires psychological strength, and psychological strength requires practice with difficulty. But here's the incredible part. You can break free. There are people right now who have escaped this psychological prison, and they're living with a level of joy and peace that seems impossible. They've cracked Jung's code, and what they discovered will shock you. The secret isn't to eliminate pleasure. It's to become the master of your own pleasure instead of its slave. Jung called this process individuation, becoming a whole, integrated person who makes conscious choices instead of reacting to impulses. But here's the twist that changes everything. Individuation requires you to do the exact opposite of what feels natural. When you feel like scrolling, you sit in silence. When you crave stimulation, you embrace boredom. When you want instant gratification, you choose delayed satisfaction. It sounds impossible, but it's actually the most liberating thing you'll ever do. Start with what Jung called active resistance to the unconscious. Pick one automatic behavior that controls you. Maybe it's checking your phone first thing in the morning. Instead of reaching for your phone, sit up in bed and consciously choose not to. Feel the discomfort. Don't run from it. This isn't punishment. It's psychological weightlifting. You're building the mental muscle that will free you from unconscious control. Here's a mind-blowing technique Jung developed. When you feel a compulsive urge, stop and ask, is this me making this choice? Or is something else controlling me? Most of the time, you'll realize it's not really you. It's a complex, an addiction, a psychological pattern that has possessed you. The moment you see this clearly, you've taken back some of your power. The Stoics had a practice Jung loved. They would voluntarily give up pleasures, not because pleasure was bad, but to prove they could control their desires instead of being controlled by them. Try this. For 1 week, give up one thing you're addicted to: social media, junk food, Netflix. Don't do it forever. Just prove to yourself that you're free. The moment you realize you can say no to your desires, you become the master of your own life. But here's the most revolutionary part. Replace cheap pleasure with what Jung called meaningful suffering. Instead of scrolling, read difficult books. Instead of binge watching, learn a challenging skill. Instead of seeking validation online, create something meaningful. The difficulty isn't the enemy. It's the doorway to real satisfaction. Every challenge you overcome makes you psychologically stronger and more capable of genuine joy. Jung discovered that the people who are truly free have learned to find pleasure in growth itself. They're addicted to becoming better versions of themselves. They get high from mastering new skills, from deep conversations, from solving real problems. They've rewired their brains to crave the things that actually fulfill them. This isn't about becoming a monk, it's about becoming free. Here's the moment of truth. You now know something that 99% of people will never understand. You know that everything you've been told about pleasure is backwards. You know that your brain has been hijacked, that your desires have been manufactured, that your freedom is an illusion. But most importantly, you know there's a way out. Carl Jung said there are 2 types of people in the world: those who live unconsciously, controlled by forces they don't understand, and those who wake up and take control of their own minds. The unconscious ones scroll through life, wondering why they never feel fulfilled. The conscious ones create their own meaning, choose their own pleasures, and live with a freedom most people can't even imagine. The question is, which one are you going to be? Right now, your future self is watching this moment. In 10 years, you'll either look back at this as the day you woke up or the day you chose to stay asleep. Every scroll, every click, every moment of instant gratification is a vote for who you want to become. You're not just choosing entertainment, you're choosing your destiny. Jung believed that becoming conscious is the most difficult thing a human can do, but also the most rewarding. He said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who algorithms think you are, not who advertisers want you to be, but who you actually are when all the noise stops and you meet yourself in silence. Your unconscious is calling. Your authentic self is waiting. In a world full of psychological zombies, consciousness is the ultimate rebellion. Choose meaning over stimulation. Choose growth over comfort. Choose freedom over convenience. The revolution starts now, and it starts with you saying no to the next urge that tries to control you. Your real life is waiting on the other side of that choice.